Guys, before I take you out on an adventure today, I just want to say a massive thank you to our friends at Lancaster Insurance. They are supporting us not only to go on Miners on Tour, but to adventure around the UK and beyond for a whole year. So I cannot wait to take you on loads of different adventures in Mary and show you lots of different exciting places that we're heading off to. If you haven't heard of Lancaster before, they're a UK classic car insurance specialist, and we're going to be supplying them with exclusive content throughout this adventure and beyond. So make sure you give them a follow. I've popped the link to their Instagram in my bio and also to their website as well, because it's definitely worth checking them out if you need to insure your classic car. So stay tuned, because we're about to go on a very exciting adventure in a very special little car called Mary. Hi guys, it's Steph from iDrive Classic, and today I'm back in something a little bit different but super special. It's a barn find Morris Minor that hasn't been driven since the 1980s. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that we're attempting to take this car all the way from Coventry via Huddersfield to an area of Belgium called Bertrix. Now, we're doing this with the Miners on Tour trip, which is organised by the Morris Minor Owner Club, and we're really excited to go. Now, in today's video, I'm going to do a bit of an exclusive reveal to show you Mary before we set off. So I'm going to show you around the outside, show you the inside, start her up so you can hear how the engine sounds. Still a little bit rough because, as you guys will know, if you've ever had a barn find car or put a car back on the road, things, you know, need a little bit of fettling. So this is the very first listen on how it all sounds, but hopefully you'll love it just as much as we do. So stay tuned, because honestly, I think you're going to love this car as much as I do. So this is Mary, a 1969 Morris Minor 4-door saloon. Now, one of the first things that you can tell on the later ones is that the indicators and the side lights are built into the same light panel. In earlier cars, you would have just had a side light where you've seen that side light and indicator, and you would have had semaphores instead. And you see that? That's called an overrider. And a little bit of trivia for you, my car is an ex-government disability car, and they didn't put overriders on those to save money. So as I bring you round, Mary is just on standard wheels, and as I've already said, she is a barn find. So the car that you're seeing today, it's not a concourse model, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them, you know, back in the day would have looked like this. And I'm just going to bring you in here. So I was talking about the semaphores. So you see that panel there? That's because they basically just used the same mould and they just filled that in. But on earlier cars, that's where you would have had your semaphore. And that's where I've got it on my 4-door actually from 1960. So I'm going to bring you round. You'll notice that the boot is a different colour as we come round. Now, the reason for this is that this paint has been really hard to match up, number one. And number two, the original boot lid was rotten. So Joe and his dad have done kind of just enough to make sure that she's kind of roadworthy with not too much attention to the bodywork, because that's what they're going to sort when they get back. So I just want to show you that number plate there, and then you've got your locking boot lid, and you see again at the back those indicators and side lights. On your earlier car you would just have a side light there, and that is your petrol cap. So as I bring you around, you'll see that there is some rot, there is some bits that need sorting out when we get back, but by and large she's actually quite tidy. I mean, they've not really done too much bodywork, as you can probably see. The bottom of that door's been filled in, but you're starting to get a little bit of rust towards that passenger bottom door. Now I just want to show you this, because you may not have seen one of these before. This is called a quarter light, and if you've got a beehive like me, it's fantastic for letting a bit of air into the car without messing up your hairdo, but I don't think that's why they were built. They're also quite good if you're a smoker, because you're not having to open the window all the way there, and when it's really hot you can turn them right round, and it almost acts as a form of air conditioning. So I'm just going to zoom back out there, bring you back round to the front. I mean, I really like this car. I think it's quite sweet. I'm not too big a fan of concourse cars, because I think you can't take them shopping and you can't just enjoy them, whereas I think Mary is definitely going to be a car that can be both enjoyed and driven regularly. Right, let's have a look in Mary, because I really think you're going to love how she looks. So first things first, I'm just going to show you the door card there. So those are the original door cards. You've got your door pull there. Don't worry, you can give it a good tug, and then you wind your windows down there, and then let me show you how you open and shut the door. So it's quite quirky if you've never been in an old car before. You've got your indicator there, which probably looks on the wrong side to most people. And then these carpets are from the original dealership, which was the Morris Traveller Centre in London. Now let's jump in the car and have a quick look. So this is basically your dash, and from left to right you've got your window washers, you've got your wipers, your key, your lights, and your choke, which is very important. And then I wish I could get this to focus up and show you this sticker. It's two little Morris Minors crashing into each other, which is definitely what I'm hoping doesn't happen on this holiday. Again, door card looks exactly the same on the other side. Sorry about the lighting there. It's quite a bright day and it makes it quite hard to film. So I'm just going to flip back. You've got your window there. You've got your back seats, as you can probably see, not much space. And that's how your seat tips forward, because people always ask how that looks. So that's just to show you there how it tips forward and it sits. And then what I'm going to do is now come out of the car, shut the door and start it. No car video is complete without hearing how the car sounds. So Mary's mileage is genuine, so that's just over 73,000. So I think it only makes sense now to start her up and have a listen. So we'll check she's in neutral. And let's get started. So one click and that's your oil light and that's your ignition light. So for those of you who missed my last video on Morris Minors, this light here, if that starts kind of coming on when you're driving or it's on all the time, that usually is a really good indication that your battery isn't charging properly. So let's start her up and have a listen. So we're starting her up there, and for those of you who haven't heard a Morris Minor engine before, this needs a little bit of fettling, but to be honest, for a first attempt, I don't think it sounds too bad at all. It wouldn't be one of my videos without a drive out. So now we've started her up, let's take Mary out so you can hear exactly how she sounds. So we're now going to set off and take the car for a drive. Now this car still sounds a little bit rough, but she will get there. So as we drive along, I'll tell you a little bit about what they've had to do to get her back on the road. So there's not been too much done to the car to get it back on the road. Joe and his dad have done all the work on this car, which is great for me because it means that I just get to turn up and drive it. So they have put 2 new chassis legs on, new brakes all the way around. That includes all the brake pipes and everything. Now if you're going to put a car back on the road that hasn't been driven in quite some time, the number one thing that you should be checking is those brakes, because that is basically between life and death. It's not something you can skip on. So right now the bodywork on this car, as you've probably seen earlier in the video, it's not concours, but that wasn't the main focus of the car. It's taken 3 weeks to get ready, and the main focus has been on safety and roadworthiness. So it's been new radiator, it's been all the welding with the 2 new chassis legs, it's been the brakes, it's been the new battery. All the things that you need to check as well that need to be checked have been checked as well. So essentially, whilst this car may look a little bit scruffy from the outside, we are in a great position in that it's incredibly roadworthy. So for those of you at home that are thinking, how has Mary not been on the road in so long? I'm thinking exactly the same thing. She's an absolute pleasure to drive. I mean, the engine isn't sounding quite there at the moment, but for a first drive, so this is our first test drive that we're taking you on, she sounds incredible. And for those of you that aren't too handy with the MOT checker, she hasn't been on the road since 1989. And she's come to us via one of Joe's relatives. So one of Joe's relatives, her father passed away, but just before he passed away, she gave this Morris Minor to Joe and said, you know, we'd like to see it back on the road. And what better way to get it on the road and get it going than to take it all the way to Belgium on Minors on Tour. So that's exactly what we're doing in this car, and we're leaving tomorrow. So for those of you who want some cold hard stats about what we're doing for the week, we are doing 500 miles there, minimum, 500 miles back, all the mileage throughout the week. It's 12 hours door to door, and that's without any mucking about, which we definitely will do because we need to get groceries and stuff like that. Whilst we're away, we expect to do between another 500 and 800 miles on different day trips and stuff like that. And we're talking about going to some different places while we're away. So for us, nothing's set in stone yet, but we're thinking about Luxembourg, and we're thinking about Brussels as well. Now, if you've never travelled abroad for a but say we were going to somewhere like Normandy, we might have thought about getting the ferry, because it would just, once you add up things like petrol and time, that would have been a better option for us. For those of you that have watched other videos, you've probably very quickly realised that isn't my hand, and the reason for that is Joe is doing a bit of driving whilst I do a bit of filming, so that I can have a chat with you about Morris Minors. So for those of you who maybe don't know too much about Morris Minors, they were the first car to sell 1 million units in the UK, and in their early days, which is perhaps why you don't see so many of the early ones, the majority were shipped out abroad. So that was to Australia, that was to America, that was all over the world really, which is why when you go to places like Australia, you tend to see a lot of the earlier ones opposed to the later ones. And part of the reason for that is they stopped selling them earlier over there than they did here. And anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Let me tell you a little bit about this car. So this is one of the later cars. This is 1969, which is the same as my car actually, Martha, who I did a video with last month. And they stopped making Morris Minors and stopped selling them in about 1973. But towards the end, it was kind of the things like the Travellers and the vans and stuff that were most popular. Now, everything that's on this car is pretty easy to obtain, which is why it's so easy to take a Morris Minor that hasn't been driven for years and put it straight back on the road. Now, I know a lot of people with a lot of different classic cars, and I can put my hand on my heart and say that along with like your Minis and your Beetles, this is probably your number one car for parts availability. I mean, you can get pretty much everything. We've not been able to get door catchers for the 4-door. That is something that we've struggled to get, but everything else, of course, all your daily bits and pieces and all the panels that have needed to be welded into the car have all been very easy to obtain. And so mainly it's just been a couple of bits and pieces, and I've donated a couple of bits and pieces to get the car on the road, because, you know, having driven a Morris Minor for 10 years, I've got a fair bit of tat lying around the house, and Jack's donated a fair bit for the trip to make sure that if we break down, he doesn't have to worry about us. So we're packing quite a few different bits and pieces, which I'm going to do a little video on actually, because quite a few people have said, oh, do you take a lot of bits? Yes, we are actually taking quite a lot with this, because when you're abroad, the parts people like East Sussex Miners will post bits over from abroad. Well, we'll post bits abroad, sorry, but it's just an absolute faff, because you've got to try and get it to the campsite and stuff. So it does pay dividends to take as much as you can with you of kind of the easy to fit stuff, and take a head gasket set, and, you know, we just your various bits and pieces. Anyway, I've got full faith that this car's going to make it to Belgium. I really, really do. But I want to know what you think. Do you think we're going to make it to Belgium, or do you think we're not even going to make it to the Eurotunnel? Guys, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and make sure you hit the bell as well, because we've got plenty of videos coming up, especially with us heading off tomorrow. So tomorrow, which is Thursday the 24th of May, we are heading off from Coventry via Huddersfield to get all the way through to Bertrix. We'll be stopping at Lille, and we have got plenty of adventures in it, so make sure you're tuning in, because I'm going to put everything on this channel. And if you're on Instagram, you can follow us as we go through pictures and live updates, and the channel's the same as this one. It's at IDRIVEACLASSIC. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I especially hope you've enjoyed Mary as much as we do. So make sure you hit like if you've enjoyed the video, and leave us a comment with any questions you've got about Mary or Morris Minors in particular. Until then, take care and drive safely.